Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, welcome everybody to another edition of Corner Cauldron with me, Buffy, and my lost co-host, Sans co-host. He's in ether somewhere, Tim. I don't know where bro is. He's
I don't know
somewhere out
either.
there in the ether.
He's gonna pop up. He'll pop up in a
Okay,
few minutes.
looking for the oh good lord. It's the brand new link Tim
Okay,
sent
well,
at 6:45.
yeah. So he
Dear
should
Lord. You know
have it.
what? Here's the thing. We all just hanging out here in the ether. Um, that's not what I wanted. I
Now,
wanted this.
which link did you use, Buffy? Did you use the first one or the second one?
I initially used the first one,
Okay.
and then as I was getting everything set up in the first one, I got a text from you saying, "Hey, I can't hear you. Here, I sent you another link because it wouldn't open up." So I quick
Okay.
deleted that one and opened up into the other one.
All right.
Uh,
Well, maybe I need to
okay, but
send.
no link. Let me go ahead and send Jimmy this link because
Okay, that'll work. Yeah. I mean, I can do
poor
it on
man,
this end,
where
but
would he
you,
be without me, Tim?
I,
That's my
I, I don't
question.
know.
Where
I
would
don't.
he be without me?
I don't know. I don't know, Buffy.
Poor
What to
Lucy.
tell you, right? But it is what it is. What I say.
And poor
It's all
Lucy,
good.
I'm just saying it.
Yeah.
She just,
Well,
I don't know what's going on.
so I don't either.
I
Looks
don't
like
know
I'm
what's
not going to
going
be
on.
able to.
She's just off forward.
Yeah, it looks like I'm not
Jim
going to be able to
spelling.
text in the StreamYard tonight either. So it is what it is, I guess. I don't know. Something all
I
wacky
don't
and
know.
wappy and goofy.
It is what it is. See this. See people. Ah, see, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you try and do right by a podcast. Now I can sit here and I watch other podcasts, and they're like seamless, and then us. Maybe it's just us. It's us.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. I don't know.
That's what
We've
it
been doing
is.
it for a long
That's
time. I
my
think it
theory,
might be
and I'm
just a
sticking
platform.
to it. That is our that's our problem. I don't know. Look, Dave Cummings just came into the chat. Hey Dave. Jim to walk in. Um Poor bro is out there in the ether. Don't know what happened to him. So I'm just gonna say hey to Dave.
Hey,
So
Dave.
our topic tonight, where are you sending the link to? Your Gmail.
Yeah, that's what we have on file. Is what is it? Spirit Searcher.
Dear Lord.
Let me look and see. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. He
Spirit Searcher
I
649 at gmail.com.
let me go in here and just copy the
You
link.
might want to look in his spam and see if he came into the
Oh
spam.
crap. Oh, let me see.
Uh,
Here's the thing. How long have we been doing this? How long?
what? I don't know. I'm going to say,
Look into my beady eyes, Tim. How long have we been doing this?
yeah, we've been doing it for a long time. A long time. A long time. But, we take the kicks and bruises
Yeah.
as we go, right? And that's
Oh
just the way it is
crap.
with us. He'll get it figured out.
Yeah.
He'll get it figured out.
He'll get it figured out. I'm gonna send it to him either way. I sent it to him in a text as well. So
Yeah,
he'll
there you
he'll
go.
get it in a text and eventually show the heck up.
Yep, that'll
Um,
work.
so tonight, everyone, our topic was to do a part two Yep, it's you all. Dave Cummings has just said yes, it's us. It's us. We're cursed. We've been cursed from the very beginning. And I would have to agree with you. He said hi, Tim.
Hey, Dave, I'm trying to pull up Facebook here, so
Our
that way I
topic tonight was supposed to be part two of. There you go. Part two of the Drudenhaus. And if you guys remembered from the last one that we did, it was just me by myself. So I know that Bro had done a lot of research on a topic. He always does an immense amount of research. In fact, there are a lot of times where I have to Hansel and Gretel him back to the surface of the rabbit hole that he's dug himself and pull him back and say, listen, you might want to come back. I mean, we've only got an hour and a half at most with this show, so you might want to scale it back a bit. But I wanted to get his side of the story because a lot of the times my research and his research, he digs up more stuff. He'll go to different websites that I am unaware of and dig up more interesting things than I have found. So, with that being said, there are a lot of times where our our research intersects each other. Like, our brains will link up, and we'll be able to like symbiotically do the same research. So, I wanted him to be able to give his side of the story of the Drudenhaus. And what a house of horrors. If you remember from I think it was 2 weeks ago when we did the Drudenhaus, and we talked about the witch hunts or the the witch hunts. We'll just call them the witch hunts. The witch trials happening all over. It started in Europe first before it ever came here to the colonies. And, in Bamberg, Germany, it went wild. It went nuts to the point where they actually built a house, and it was called the Slaughterhouse. I'm not exactly sure if all of it is still standing at this point. I think my research said that there may have been bits and pieces of the house in Bamberg, Germany that were still standing as of today.
Okay.
And that was in the 1600s. Can you imagine being given like the Bamberg kneeler where you're meant to kneel on wooden spikes and pins while you're actively getting the brakes beat off of you into a confession, and then they just kill you anyway. They're like, okay, you confessed, whatever. We're just okay. Maybe we'll let you live a little bit longer. We'll torture you a little bit more before we set your body ablaze and force people to watch it. That is just the criminally insane, I'm telling you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to have that.
The criminally insane has
ahead.
nothing on those
No,
executioners
it does not.
and judges back then. People of the court or whatever you want to call them. They make these people look like saints compared to what they were. All I can say is just go ahead and do what you got to do because I'm not confessing to anything. So,
well,
all right. Well, it looks like we lost Buffy, but we'll get her back. There's no problem. But here's the thing. A lot of those people that were put on those trials, they were innocent, and it wasn't that innocent until you found guilty or whatever it was back then. You were guilty when they brought you to trial, whether you were innocent or not. and more than likely you're going to perish anyway. So that's the thing back in those times. It certainly isn't anywhere near what it is today, and it's really, we have, whether you like it or not, we do have a really fair judicial system out here, and sometimes we 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 think that it's turning, it's not working, but it is turning, even though it turns slow. But the wheels do turn, and that's just the way it is with everything uh, today. Um, we're more acceptable now to the religions and the lifestyles of all the people than back then. Um, the issue is, um, we've all had ancestors pretty much who suffered those trials, and some were witnesses to all the horrific things that was brought to uh, the individuals who were accused of witchcraft, or doing things against humanity, or whatever the case may be. And I know my ancestors were charged for crimes that they didn't do on that part, and they were executed. Now they were not burned; they were tortured and hung. But the fact of the matter is, we all go through these things different with different settings and different people, and that's just the way society is anymore. It's not a fair system at all back in those times. And sometimes, yeah, even today, I mean, we're treated unfairly with all of the stuff that goes on, and everything. And it can be a issue. Let's see. There's Mr. Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, Tim.
We lost Buffy, so we'll get Buffy back eventually. But anyway, we're carrying through. And what the topic is the Drudenhaus that you and Buffy had spoke about, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Hmm.
And so that's where we're at right now. Going to pick up on a chapter 2 here. But I was explaining, that the judicial system that we have today is nowhere near like it was back in those times, when you were accused of witchcraft, or doing ungodly things. You were automatically found guilty, where you were guilty or not.
You had
Uh,
no way to resolve or save yourself. It only took one person to make a whisper. And God forbid you have a familiar running around. That even adds to the totality of everything. And then all the people are like, it's true. Look, they've got this, they've got that. Their crops provided this year. My crops didn't. Make that simple claim. And the other thing was a pain was, you make the claim against me that I'm a witch. When I'm convicted, you get all my property.
yeah, absolutely.
That's almost like the payback. Like, you helped save us because you saw her as a familiar, or you saw her or him or whatever. Yeah, I mean, think about it. Today, if that was that easy, I'd be drowning in the reservoir up there right now. They wouldn't even let me in. Uh-oh.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all
Howdy.
it took was howdy.
Howdy.
Look, we got the three amigos back.
There you go.
But
It's been a while.
that's the thing. I mean, and basically that's exactly what it boiled down to was,
It
you
literally
wanted
shut my
someone's
computer
property.
off. Literally.
I'll tell you what, I don't know, but I'm having a dinkins of a time trying to get onto these sites. I'm working off a computer now. It's a Mac that's about 6 years old.
Okay.
I could be having some firmware issues, so I may have to Oh God, I may have to buy a computer. Anybody want to sponsor me a computer so I can keep doing Corner Cauldron?
You're gonna have to buy a computer.
Do an upgrade on it.
Well, with a Mac, you can only go so far back.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I am at, like hypothetically, I think I'm at El Capitan, which is like 3 or 4 software links ahead or behind. And there's a lot of tricks you can do to it. You can zap the memory. You can try and trick it. You can try and download the site, but a lot of times it won't. It'll just say, you're out of date.
Right. Well, you're coming in good. I hear you good.
Yeah, right now this one's working fine. I got another one over here that's probably a little bit older that it doesn't like the internet. I don't even know why it became a computer.
All right. Well, carry on, people. I'm going to get off from here, and I might jump in from time to time.
Oh, my Lord.
What's the matter?
This is just being silly. I mean, this is just being silly. It really, really is.
It's called Gremlins.
I was talking just fine, and all of a sudden, it completely shut me off. It shut my computer down.
Well, for me to get into where I'm at now,
I literally had to reboot my entire system.
Yeah, I went to Tim's link that he sent me a little while ago. Tried it a couple times, didn't work. Then I went to the link that you sent me, and that got me to this stage. And then you were going, so me and Tim were chatting. I was like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
I expect the Gremlins to be running free and running.
Well, I apologize, bro, but
Hey, I feel bad because like I said last week, we tried to.
I'm glad to have you back because I will tell you what.
All right, carry on. I'm cutting out.
They seem to follow us everywhere. It doesn't matter. Uh-oh.
Tim spun out.
And says he's carrying. We're to carry on. He's cutting out.
Carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done.
Oh my. So, any hoodles, how you been, bro?
Life has been wonderfully chaotic.
How you been?
Oh, good.
I'm just gonna do this.
It's just been.
I'm gonna cancel this out.
Darby's finally moved into her apartment in Jersey, so she's finally taken off her.
So you been okay?
Yeah, I can't complain. Everybody's doing well. Everything's going well. And you? You've been going real well. Your YouTube pieces and your.
That's cool.
I think we have about a 3-second delay going on.
All my stuff that I'm doing. YouTube account to join the live chat. Well, I've tried that.
You're in the show. You can see.
So anyway, I felt like my left arm was cut off, or my right arm was cut off. And I was upset. I can hear you.
Yeah, you are.
Can you hear me?
Your lips are moving and your hands are moving, but I'm not getting words. I'm not getting the audibles.
How about that?
Right now. You're freezing up.
How about that?
You're freezing up as you're talking. So I think we got some kind of weird.
Is that okay? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. But I think we got some kind of like 3 or 5 second delay going on.
Okay.
But you'll say something. And
I think we do.
And then the word.
I just can't. I can't anymore. I really can't. What I was trying to say was that when I did this first episode by myself, or part 1, of Drudenhaus, I felt like my left arm or my right arm was cut off. It was terrible.
You did a good job with
I
it.
didn't have my bro to do it with. Well,
And you covered a lot of good stuff.
I wanted to get your. Yeah, I tried to. I did a lot of research on that. So we did a part two. We're doing a part 2 tonight to talk about your research that you did on this, as far as the Drudenhaus is concerned. What a house of horrors!
Oh yeah, it was a miserable place. Where is? I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but I'm trying to find some note. Oh, son of a bitch!
Son of a biscuit!
Oh, sorry, FAA, son of a biscuit.
Son of a biscuit!
Where is recent? Because I found something on a podcast that a guy had done that I thought was interesting that would have been neat to open the show up with. And so I copied it.
Right.
I'm just afraid if I go looking for it, I'm going to get disconnected. But it's, let me see here. Oh,
you may got shut off again, right?
Open recent. Here we go. So Drudenhausen doc. This is the one I want to think. So can you hear me? No, because I'm
Drudenhausen doc. Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's
I can hear you.
All right. So that I'm looking for my.
I'm paying attention.
I'm looking for my notes to try. What are you doing, Jimmy?
He's looking for his notes, people.
Stinker Dunkin' Dunkin'. So Druden 2, was it that?
Oh my gosh.
So what I found interesting was So you're not going to work like a Windows because you're a Mac. You're a booger nut. So let's take it to this side. See if I can. All right. So I want to make sure I read the right piece before I just start into it. So there was a podcast I found, and the guy was talking about some things that I thought it was kind of interesting that how he started out his show. So I'll start out like that. He goes, so he starts out with, I'm pretty sure everyone has been accused of something they haven't done. Was it something stupid that you forgot in minutes, or an utter betrayal that still festers as we speak? Was it a simple mistake or an intentional malice? Did it end up having a dire outcome? So dire that you were taken by cold men to an even colder building inside a tiny cell where you waited your trial. And you knew full well whatever happened, even if you absconded from the, well, I heard the words over there. Sorry. Okay, here we go. So even if you absconded from doing whatever the ridiculous thing you've been accused of, they will still mercilessly torture you until you confess. So you do. Yeah. And then your torturers condemn your name and execute you in a slow and painful process. So yeah, that ever happened to you? Oh, just George, Johannes, and Dorothea, who you covered last week, the ones who fled, and about 900 others. This is the story of Drudenhaus, or Witch House, grotesque crimes committed within the sake of God. So what I found interesting was when that Drudenhaus was going and that quote came along, it was also around the time that there was some, all right, so the original witch trials that we've talked about.
Correct.
They were when you involved the Puritans and everybody, and Captain, I can't think of his name right, Jonas. They came along and they were doing it in the name of religion and that kind of stuff. And but when it really came down to it, was really the Puritans and the other family. I can't think of the other family. Were trying to gain political power and political process and gain the area. Well, when I was looking at Drudenhaus with you, I saw it was, so this Drudenhaus was about what, 200 years prior, or am I only a couple hundred years difference between the Puritans and the Drudenhaus?
Right.
They were like 1639. Drudenhaus.
It was approximately from my research, approximately 9 years prior to
Okay.
the Salem witch trials. And this guy, when you were watching him on YouTube, did he have glasses? Was he really skinny and have blue hair?
Yes.
That's the same one that I was watching.
Oh, okay. So what I found
we're on point with each other as far as that's concerned.
Right? So they were vicious in their torture and everything. But what I found really, really interesting, even though there wasn't a war going on at the time with the Puritans and the witchcrafts or witch hunts that everybody's familiar with, not the Drudenhaus, but the other ones, there wasn't a raging war going on. You go back to Drudenhaus, they're grabbing people like me and Tim were talking as we were getting you back online. All they had to do was make an accusation. And that was the common theme on witch trials. It's just make an accusation and you get them condemned.
Yeah.
You get their property, you get whatever you want out of them. And it can be as simple as a familiar or crops not working. But there was a 30-year war going on. Now all this is in Germany. What I found really, really interesting is that 30-year war kept going. It swung back and forth on the pendulum. It was like for Catholics, then it was now it's political, no, it's Catholics, now it's political. So basically the same argument that the Puritans were doing with their time, but now we got a war coming in. And the part that really, it didn't creep me out, but it really made me think was when the war was progressing to, it wasn't called Germany, it was the W.
Bamberg.
What?
Bamberg.
So as the war is progressing on Bamberg, where these trials are going on, now you also had not epitaphs, but Bible verses written in some of the cells that they would go into. Now the biggest and infamous cell is the Drudenhaus one that it always comes up. It held about, I think it had like 28 cells in it, and they were condemned, and they just had the word of God all written into the cell that they would have to talk about or try and believe or try and save themselves, which we know they weren't going to save themselves. They were done. But when the war was coming down, the part that I found interesting was the war comes down. Now the Drudenhaus people are releasing who they say are the witches. And the one big thing they're telling them, don't tell anybody in that 30-year war what goes on in here. Don't tell anybody, and we won't come looking for you again. We won't do anything. We'll just let you go, and this is like never happened. It's like, okay, so you want to say you're doing it in the name of God. You want to say you're doing it in the name of your people. You want to say whatever you want to say. But yet now we're going to say, shh, don't tell anybody. Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, because that would implicate them.
Right. But then they run away.
After all, the 30-year war was over the Catholics and the Protestants and political stuff.
Right. And that was a big thing in those time and age, because you had those wars going on all over the world. That was like the popular war of the world. You had in Ireland, you had the Catholics and the Protestants going at each other. You had the Pope taking up for the Catholics over there. Yep. But I mean, they weren't doing the witch hunts. But then you had Jonas, who fled with his son, and I think it was his wife, daughter got caught and killed.
Yes.
I mean, some of the most craziest of tortures, and they were better than what they would do. What I also found interesting was they wouldn't just come in and say, "Hey, write down everything that you're about a witch. This is you," or anything. No, they started the screaming right then and there. The first minute they got you, there was no conversation. There was no talk. It was to the courtyard, and whatever ungodly torture we can come up on you, we're going to do. And that was what I found interesting about Drudenhaus. To me, it was nothing but secrecy. Whereas you knew what was going on in the colonies, because it was carrying over to England, at a happy home across the pond.
Mhm.
So everybody knew what was going on. But Drudenhaus wants to keep this a secret for a bribery. I'll let you out, but you can't tell anybody, because the 30-year war wasn't there to save them or anything. It was just happened to be a conflict that was headed their way, and the Drudens just mistook it, I think, for what they thought it was or wasn't. But yeah, that was some. Okay. Oh, look, I'm even getting the chats this time. I'm in a private.
You are getting the chats this time.
I'm seeing
And
Tim's
we're not on a
chat.
time delay. I'm not skipping around.
Now you seem to be all right.
Yeah. The comments that I'm getting from Tim, and they are correct. I don't know. Tim and I have the private chat because that's the only chat that he can come in right now, is the private chat. Apparently,
Gotcha.
they did an upgrade on the StreamYard system, and he can't make can't make comments like the public comments.
Okay.
But he can make private chat. But he's on Facebook as well, so that he can leave comments back and forth. Oh, and look, we lost Jimmy just like that. Real quick, we're gonna see if we can get Jimmy back. Real quick. And we'll be back. We're going to see if we can get him to come back. And just like that, and I think it has everything to do with this voice that I'm hearing. And I definitely think, hey, there you are. I'm on the other side of the screen now. Like I was saying,
keep rotating this.
Yeah, they're going to keep rotating us. And I lost you again, just like that. Look.
Yep, no, I'm back.
Hi, peekaboo. I see you.
I'm Art the
Yeah. I think it has everything to do with that voice that I'm hearing. I don't think this voice wants this spirit wants any of this to be put out there.
Well, and to me it doesn't make sense why it wouldn't, or what the hell was that? Who else should log back in? I believe it might be the spirit chats with the because they really hadn't, other than trying to cover up what they were doing in Drudenhaus.
Yeah.
There's really nothing there that would, because there wasn't. Well, now first of all, you have to put out there, every witch trial there was a false allegation. Period.
Right.
There was never valid ones, because they just weren't valid. They were just bullshit made up by people who wanted something. So it's not like they were joining the war. It's not like they knew they were doing wrong. And to me, what it says deep down is they knew that the people in Drudenhaus were not witches. It was just people saying things. Now, you can throw the argument and say, well, the original witch trials happened a couple years later, 10 years later, had trials. Yeah, trials. That
really weren't trials anyway. You and I both know that wasn't really much of a trial.
We had the one governor that was presiding over the trial with two others. And what are the other two going to go against?
Yeah.
They're not going to go against.
No.
So Drudenhaus was just, hey, I got a witch. Let's torture the person, get them to admit that you're a witch, and we'll move on from there. Because after they admit it, then they go face their death. Now, the other thing I don't understand is, I don't know if you saw or not, with the original witch trials, we agree that the number of deaths were 20 to 25. That included a dog and one male. And the male was pregnant.
Correct.
crushed in stones. The rest, they say were burned. Now, Drudenhaus wants to make a claim that they had 900 burnings.
That's correct.
And so if I'm doing it, so 900, I don't know. There's just so much. Obviously, they're not going to have proper documentation to show who burned who in the 1600s. But if you have a voice there with you in there, I would like to know what they think they're trying to, they're coming about saying, hey, look, this is what really happened. You need to hear my side. I was actually there. Or was this the daughter or the son? Was it? My problem here is my notes. I got one computer that's working. If I leave this site, it's going to boot me out and I can't get to my notes. But I'm trying to get, there is a set. Let me see if I can do this. Get back here. This might do what I need to do. Maybe. Don't kick me out, you little booger nut. That's a technical term.
Accused were innocent, but they needed a scapegoat. And scapegoat, and couldn't back down that were being. So who were you referring to when you were talking about there were 900 apparently.
Right.
Apparently 900 that were, or close to 1,000 that by the time Drudenhaus was taken down. And I think it was, who was it? I don't have my notes with me right now, so I don't know who it was.
I'm hoping I don't lose it. I had the so he fled Dorothea's execution. I think that Dorothea was his wife.
You're talking about the one dude fleeing and going to, right. He was going to the Capitol, and he was actually going to sue. He was the one who was suing the von Folksen, Jackson, von Frauenberger, whatever the heck his name was at the time, that built the Drudenhaus, to be totally honest. And on his way there, while he was there the entire time, his wife, Dorothea,
right,
and wasn't it the unborn baby too?
There.
No, that was another.
No, you had some.
Dorothea was the one with. I gotta find my notes. Dang it!
Yeah, I know. I'm trying.
Somebody else being unprepared.
As I scroll, it also my scrolling through my notes. Number one takes me out of, so I can't see it, but it's also causing hiccups when you talk.
We don't want you to come out of here, please. So the first person who started the whole shebang, and I'm getting my notes out. I found my notes. Hey, I found my notes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something different the way I handle my notes, because, like I said, this other computer was helping me out. Now it's decided just to be
shit the bed. We're just gonna say shit the bed.
I love technology.
So yeah.
Back analog.
So Prince Johann Gottfried von Auschenhausen,
right,
was the first guy, right? Yes. He was the first one to start with. Sounds like a male for sure. And by the way, people, I keep going back and forth with Tim. There are two spirits, that are here. One is a female and one is a male. I don't think the female is connected to this whole thing.
Could it be Dorothea?
No, I think the female is for Tim.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think this is for Tim.
Just had his earth drum move on the wall.
Is that what he said? My earth drum moved on the wall. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be a night. I'm telling you.
So where are you guessing this female's from?
This female is ancestor to him.
Oh, to Tim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'm going to say that this is for a conversation between the three of us that's not being aired. Because this is going to get a little political, and I don't want it to be political. That our show is not political
No.
in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to speak to Laura real quick so we can get on with this and let Laura know that I hear you, I see you, and you are valid. This is not the place for it right now. If you wait, I will address you. I understand that you are sad and that you are somewhat perturbed or angry about situations that are going on. Trust me, I agree with you. I really, really do. But Tim, do you hear or feel anything? See, this is what's great about these shows. Okay. Are you getting cold chills, or are you just... did your earth drum move again? Cold chills. We'll address Laura at another time. The mail, I think, is for this show. And is your name George? His name is George. Not sure what the male wants. I think he wants justice.
Okay.
I think he wants justice. That's what is great about these shows that we do, is that because we're all higher vibrational beings, there is a lot that happens. We unintentionally bring forth spirit. Just had my earth drum move. Discombobulated much tonight? Yes, we are all discombobulated, Desiree. You need to go back to the shorthand for your notes. Yeah, Lucy said you need to go back to the shorthand for your notes.
I gotta figure out something. This is ridiculous. I'm trying to move my notes from one computer to another right now so I can keep things going.
Okay, so we're going to move on. George, understand that we are trying to get your story out, but we can't get your story out if you continuously play with the electronics. I understand that you are angry and that you want justice. You are not doing yourself any favors by not allowing us to come forth and give you the justice that you need. Tim's phone just went wonky.
Oh.
Yeah. So George is the person that you're speaking of. George Hahn was, yes. He was secular in this whole deal. And he totally objected to the witch trials that were going on. And so he tried to sue the Prince Bishop. And he rode to Speyer for the trial. They allowed him to be heard, which Speyer was at one point when this was going on in the 1600s. That was the capital of Germany. It was not Munich like it is today. So he had to ride. Now, he rode as fast as he could. He did get word that he could be heard and, make a plea for his case. And they actually allowed him. They gave him, the okay to go ahead and do this. But while he was gone, you have to remember, riding a horse and you're gone for weeks, during this whole situation.
Right.
At least, if not weeks, days. And during that time that he wasn't there, the Prince Bishop decided, hey, this is a great time to just accuse his wife.
Oh, yeah.
So they accused her of witchcraft, and they also accused the 7-year-old, his 7-year-old daughter,
Yes.
of the whole witchcraft thing. Now, mind you, he had an older daughter and an older son. So he had 3 kids in his family. He had the 7-year-old, and then he had the older daughter and the older son. So at this whole time that went by, she was tortured into a confession and sentenced to burn alive. This is George Hahn's wife.
Right.
And the daughter, who was 7 years old, she had succumbed to the same fate. George returned to Bamberg to learn of the news of his wife and his youngest child. He knew he was next. Let's just put it that way. He knew. He was like, oh yeah, now that my wife and my 7-year-old child. Now, mind you, in Germany, it wasn't like the United States. Their choice of execution in the United States was hanging. You either got hanged, you were drowned, you were stoned, or pressed, as they call it. In Europe, they were big fans of the burning pyres and burning you alive. So there was no guillotines. There was no stretching of the necks. There was, you went through a set of double doors that had, on top of it, a saying is, judges, God is going to judge you and he's going to find you condemned or whatever. Long story short of that whole situation. And those double doors led right out to a courtyard where you were set ablaze in front of an audience, a studio audience with lots of popcorn. And if you had children, your young children were forced to watch you burn to death. Yeah. So he knew he was next. An official from Bavaria was sent to help him, but he was turned away at the gates. They were like, nah, man, gates closed. We're all full up here. You can't be up in here trying to cause a ruckus. We're sorry, we're closed. Like, Bamberg's closed. All right.
7-Eleven, we're open 24 hours.
We're full up. The vacancy sign, yes, the vacancy sign has been turned off. Okay. There is no room in the inn for none of y'all. Okay. Just saying. So they threatened him. They said, if you don't leave, you're going to be the next one. Is that your wife? Is that Lucy walking past?
Yeah, she snuck by me.
Yeah, she snuck by you and she was trying to give you notes like maybe you should go back to shorthand.
Yeah. So, hey, dummy, do it the old-fashioned way.
Desiree, I already used pen and paper. See, honey, I got the pens and I got the papers. See, my hands cramped doing this.
My hands aren't exactly built to write anymore, so I kind of have to henpeck.
You and your Dupintur's contracture. I'm just, I don't know what to do with you anymore.
I fist bump now. No more high five. Look,
80, oh God, 87 surgeries, and now it's the pinky.
Yeah.
Not gonna be satisfied until it's all your pinkies, like
You know
all
what
your.
I'm gonna just have them cut it off right here.
Okay.
I don't need this thing. This little thing doesn't run the market anymore.
God. So anyway, uh, George was accused. So poor George, um, was was left to be tortured. All right. So in the following year, his other daughter and son were received the same punishment while George is in prison. They're like, okay, no, you can't be tried because Pops is in here, and we're gonna break him too. So you might as well we're just to make him confess even more, we're gonna burn you and your brother alive, okay? And we're gonna make Pops watch it and see if he
after we've already
confesses.
killed your wife and daughter.
Yeah, right. So my man George, and I know this is George now because I'm getting a like face,
Okay.
like a George was tortured for like 7 days. My man was tortured for 70 days. They beat the brakes off of him. They gave him the Bamberg kneeler. So if you weren't familiar with the Bamberg kneeler, and he said, that is true. You were forced to watch no matter who it was they were executing. That was Tim. Mm-hmm. Tim says, no writing here. No one can read hillbilly anyway.
Oh, shit.
Boy, if you don't stop.
Hey, this is encrypted hillbilly.
Bye, boy. Boy, bye. Just bye. Bye. No. So the Bamberg kneeler was that they made you in front of everyone.
Oh, the kneeler was
kneel on a floor of spikes. Yeah. While they beat the brakes off of you, and try and get you to confess.
Yeah, that was bad. That was really, really bad.
Oh yeah. That's horrible. But my man still said, "No, man, I'm going to God. I'm serious about this. I have done nothing against the Catholic Church, which you are doing." And he was screaming at the bishop, saying, "What you're doing is a lie and brutality, and Jesus never talked about this. He was all about the love, and you're just about getting rid of people that know too much, and just want to be themselves." I'm sorry. Where in the Bible does it say you can just mow over a whole community of people just because you've got ants in your pants, or just because you got your knickers in a knot, or you didn't get your oatmeal for today? That just makes no sense. So
the other interesting part is you're talking about stuff, how they're torturing everybody. And we just talked about George. There's another person, Johannes Junius.
Oh yes,
we'll talk about. But the other part,
Johannes Junius.
The other part that makes it interesting to me is the original witch trials, which everybody's familiar with, had, for lack of description, a purpose. They were trying to deal with something. Here, there was just, it's almost like you had 5 guys got up on the wall and said, you know what, let's just start torturing the shit out of people so we can find the witches and everything. Because there's I don't know how you see it, Buff, but when I look at everything I've read on the Germany ones, it doesn't make sense to me to even have them. It's just like, a 1% motorcycle gang got a hold of a village that was scared of them, and they just decided to see what they could do to people and hurt people. Because there was not there was a lot of reward on the later ones, but it doesn't make sense. I just can't comprehend it or make sense of why it even occurred. If that makes sense.
Well,
it doesn't. I mean, you got George who takes off and flees. and he was a political power. He couldn't be saved no matter how, what, or why, period.
Right.
So his wife and daughter were killed. He comes back.
Yeah.
He proclaims his innocence of everything, but we've already had people say, nope, he dies, and then his son dies. So they're just killing to kill, and you should at least, it just doesn't make sense, but you should at least have some sense of why they were doing it. It wasn't like they were proclaiming like, okay, well, this person did this to this person, and this person felt the effects of it by this person's actions. So at least you could say that's a justification for it, but it didn't exist here. I mean, the next guy we're going to talk about, Johannes, he's the freaking mayor.
He is the mayor, and if you remember correctly, in 1692 in Salem, they accused the mayor himself as well, and his wife. But here's the thing: if you remember correctly, when we were doing our research for this, it all von Auschwitz, Yurzenberger, von Jonas Save the Whales, whatever his name was, the first bishop, Auschenweiser, okay? He presided, this all started over a family feud of 15 people over something stupid, right? So those 15 people in the family started accusing each other. They were accusing each other.
Right.
So then the Archbishop Aschenhauser says, okay, this is it. You're all accusing each other. Nobody knows who's doing what. Guess what? You're all going. Right. I'm going to take you all out. Okay. So when they all knew that they were going to die, then they started pointing the finger at neighbors.
Right.
That were related. So this thing actually grew. It was like the domino effect.
Right.
Well, that von Aschen dude, he quit. He retired, did whatever. It didn't say what happened to him. It just said that, I don't know, did he die? I don't know. This von Fuchs guy that took over as the new bishop, Prince Bishop, he's the one that was like bloodthirsty. He's the one that was like, okay, I like this. I'm just going to start killing everybody. I don't care who you are. This whole town, the whole town of Bamberg is just nuts. So I'm just going to build this gigantic house that's got 26 solitary confinement rooms. I'm going to build a big courtyard that's got all these pyres, and eventually maybe the accusations will stop.
Right. And he builds it because he's the cousin of H.H. Holmes. It's an early start on H.H. But I mean, that's the thing. They just, I'm not giving satisfaction to what happened in Salem, but it moved with a little more purpose than what happened in, I say Germany, but Bamberg,
Germany. Yep.
I mean, it's just, and you hate. I'm not trying, like I said, I'm not trying to give justification to anybody in the past that just did this arbitrary stuff or this isolated stuff just to try and develop their own land or their own people or make sure that the Puritans went out or something like that. But at least there was a little bit more, because you could tell. And the reason I say it's a little more structured is because you had the 30-year war coming down on them. So it's just a little difference. Right. So you had people making decisions on, first of all, they were brutal. I mean, you had Vikings there. It was all brutal time. But at least you had some mercy. I mean, there's just no mercy at Drudenhaus. It didn't matter who you were. You could have been the sitting king in Drudenhaus. And if I got a bug up my butt and I looked up at him and said, you, my sir, are a witch and your wife is a practicing witch, then he's done. So there was no safety caveats in place and that's not even the right terminology or the right way to go with it, but I can't think of any way to put it, that says, oh, okay, well, here's one way of looking at it. They were just merciless people
Mm-hmm.
in a crazy time, probably doing more mushrooms than the world's doing today, and just decided, you know what? Let's create a witch hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least you could see where the Salem ones kind of developed. It was probably just a pickup of Drudenhaus. But where did Drudenhaus begin? Because Drudenhaus ran when the 30-Year War came down. So Drudenhaus tried to do its thing, but it didn't have the people that were there, like the Puritans. I can't think of that captain's name, Captain John. I can't think of his name right now.
Mm-hmm.
That was all part of that, the Salem witch trials.
My thing, though, is it's kind of like the same thing as the Salem witch trials. I mean, look at poor Bridget Bishop. They hung her because they wanted her property.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. These things were done out of just because
Just because.
I can get it. I have a familiar.
Because women were property.
Right.
And the only male that was ever killed during our Salem witch trials was Giles Corey. And poor old Giles Corey, he was elderly, and the poor man got crucified for not admitting that he was a witch.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept saying, more weight, you know what? More weight, because you're going to kill me either way.
Right.
But if I say more weight, I'm dying on my own terms.
It
And when I
is.
go to God, because I'm a God-fearing man and I've done nothing wrong, I will be totally absolved.
Right.
And I will get to see my wife, and I will get to see my family members, and I will sit at the right hand of God, and I will make him exact punishment.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make him exact punishment on you.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, yeah, I mean, in 9 years prior, when this is all going down in Bamberg, remember, we didn't have the Malleus Maleficarum yet. Pope Innocent X was the one who created, or was it Pope Innocent II? It was either the second or the 10th, wrote the book of the Malleus Maleficarum. Do you think that it's possible that some of his torture ideas came out of this? Because if they're all Catholic, they're all under the rule of the Pope.
Right. And let's face it, I don't care what you want to say. Everybody knows my feelings on things, but the Pope in those times was a vicious MFer.
Yeah.
He was not somebody to be toyed with or tolerated, because he would come up with torture. He would okay the torture. If you follow back to the Templar Knights, I mean, you can follow right down in history where the Pope has been just I'm not associating bad words with the Pope's name because I am Catholic, but the Pope was
right.
And it's proven
right, and we're talking 300 and some years ago, so it's not.
What I'm saying though is that when you look at it, Buff, it's the Pope could have stepped in at any time, and the only time the Pope ever stepped in on stuff was when it got nasty, ugly. I mean, between him and not jumping to the Templar Knights or changing this or anything, but with the Templar Knights and the King then of France and what they were authorized to do. I mean. Yeah. Let's look at it. Let's go back to the Salem witch trials, and let's go back to Drudenhaus.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Pope. Where's the Pope? The Pope can't get close enough, because if he gets accused, there's no saving his butt.
Oh yeah.
He can authorize stuff and be okay with stuff. Why wasn't the Pope outspoken with all that? Because you can't. Because in those times, you had to be really careful how you exposed him, because
he was going to implicate himself. So he said, "I'm gonna zip my lip and stay quiet and let this maniac. Eventually, this maniac's going to die.
Right.
So we're just going to let him keep going until he runs out of steam."
It reminds me of the scales of justice. There's the Pope back in those times. He's holding that scale, and it's got to hold it just right so both sides are even. You can't have one side overweighing the other, because if he gives favor to one, the other side's going to come get him. If he gives favor to the other side come gets him.
True.
You know,
Absolutely.
You can't. It haywires my mind, especially when you brought up Drudenhauses for us to look at and everything. I'm like, for me, it blows back everything what we learned about Salem.
Yeah.
Because you can't have, and if you start looking at anything, we've talked about how all the healing processes are going on. Salem is acknowledged. You had that great school teacher that led all those 8th graders for protection. Why aren't we seeing that now in Drudenhaus? And you know why? Because everybody saw Drudenhaus for what it was. It was just, in my opinion, it was just a nasty house of crime for psychotic people running it, just to do whatever they wanted to people based on any accusation. I mean, at least you get some presence of justice being sought in Salem, because they actually had trials. I mean, as farce and bogus as they were, at least they went through the motion of let's at least have a trial, make it look like we're doing the right thing for everybody.
Well, yeah.
You know, so I just,
it's even in Scotland, those witches weren't absolved until 2022 by a barrister.
Right.
The thousands. Oh, finally, like 500 years later, and my uncle, even before he passed, he was so upset that he called and he was texting me, and he was like, "That's 500 years too late. 500 years too late. You killed my ancestors, and now because it's 2022 and you're more progressive, now all of a sudden you want to say, you know what? Yeah, it's been 500 years. We'll throw them a bone."
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think they're throwing them so much as a bone. And I know we're talking about your uncle. They're not so much throwing them a bone. I think what has happened is people are finally becoming educated and understanding more, and they're more acceptant to, hey, forefathers and everybody, they shit the bed, because there's plenty of past history that we could pull into any history. We can prove and show where they, the one side really crapped the bed, the other side didn't do anything about it, and now all of a sudden it's coming out and people are studying and they're looking at it and they're going, well, wait a minute. Yeah, no, we need to start absolving people or correcting people. I mean, we'll look at the one place we did as a group. I think it was in Maryland, where we ran into Mr. Benjamin Franklin.
It's Benjamin Franklin. I almost said Benjamin Franklin Pierce. Oh, Lord.
What people don't realize how much an asshole he was.
Yeah.
So I think it's unfortunate that it takes history so long to get figured out and to know what people have done wrong. But that's the learning curve. That's where you have years and years of fighting, whatever's true or real. It's the same sentence, you dummy. That people can now start wrapping their head around, because people are doing the research. They're seeing what you and I are talking about now with the show, with Drudenhaus and the witch trials. They weren't legit. They should have never happened, and they have both only happened for one reason: greed. People wanted stuff. People wanted to take stuff from other people.
Yeah.
So it's it's all they both come down to. It's just nothing but greed. It's the Vikings, either later or early, running up and down the streets. But yeah, so it just drives me nuts when you have that kind of history, or you have that kind of it just takes so long to make the correction. And I'm glad we're doing it. I'm glad when you go to Salem, Massachusetts, you get to see that they're all making the corrections. They're all acknowledging who should have been, who should not have been killed, and they're making monuments. And I think that's great strides. But it's just not happening with Drudenhaus. Drudenhaus was just a straight up terror house. Because, like I said earlier, they didn't start with a questioning. They didn't start with an inquisition. They started right on the torture. I mean, Johannes Junis, he was a week of torture under witchcraft. Thumb screws. Thumb screws, leg vices, strappado, where they tie a rope around your neck and shove you off. And you
like this.
Around just before you hit.
Yeah. Like and this.
Yes. So it's torturous mentally and physically is how they're getting you. And imagine he went through that for a week. And he's the mayor. Where are people not off limits? You know? Now I don't know his whole history. I don't know where he was on championing the cause of stopping witchcraft or anything, but it bit him in the ass. He turned around and he got killed. I mean, it's just
but you gotta love his confession at the end. I want to go back and address something that Desiree said. Was she was asking if the building is still standing. It is not. According to my research that I just did, the building is not standing anymore because it, was dilapidated, fell apart. You're talking 300 years, or more than 300 years, 400 years now of stuff. But however, Bamberg does walking tours, and they will walk you to the spot where the Drudenhaus was. And they will talk about the things, the abhorrent things that happened during the whole situation. But you gotta like my man's confession, man. He made sure, he knew he was gonna die, but he made sure that his confession went down in the history books. He was just outrageous with his confession finally at the very end after 7 days. Is where all the anti-Semitism took place. Yep, he sure did. Tim responded about Uncle Seamus and said he was right there. He lived around those areas where all the anti-Semitism or anti-witch took place, and you're correct, he did. So, but anywho, how about his confession? Johannes's confession. Did you get his confession?
I was just double checking my notes. I didn't see his confession. Being tortured. He didn't succumb. Wait a minute. To say the least. Stated that he was seduced. Yes.
There you go. His confession was like 8 pages long. He said, if I'm going big. I'm going big.
Right.
I mean, champagne bottles when I hear this.
So he was seduced by a succubus that threatened to kill him until he accepted Satan as his god. He didn't succumb, and then more demons started attacking him until he was forced to renounce God, taking the sweet name of Crix. And receiving Crix Fixin. But he spared himself for a little bit, where he was able to participate in magical rituals where he'd ride on the back of a hideous black dog. During the rituals, Beelzebub himself was a great guest of honor. He was asked to sacrifice his children in Satan's name, but he was having performance anxiety and was quickly beaten for his disobedience. But hey, they killed his horse later. I mean,
he was having performance issues. My man was having performance issues. He couldn't do it. He couldn't kill his wife.
Hey, you pointed tail son of a bitch, you ain't getting it because I can't do it.
Listen, the only thing he didn't confess to was dancing naked in the woods with them little demons, man. I mean, I would have even added that. I would have been, yeah, and I flew on a broom too. What about it? Bet. You bet.
I'm gonna light this whole shit up big time and fast, and this is what happened. I did it all.
Give me the lighter. I'm gonna light my own bonfire. Watch me.
Hell, I had a cross-eyed goat eating peanut butter.
I can't with you. This is what I missed. This is what I missed when I had to do this all by myself.
Oh God, that was horrible last week. I felt so bad, man. I was like, I was rebooting. I was checking this, that. I'm like,
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay. I mean, you tried. We all tried. We tried. But look, we're on the air and we haven't had. Look, I'm knocking on wood. Haven't had any trouble.
Don't get the druids upset.
Please don't get the druids upset. Please, I don't want my Seamus coming into my room in the middle of the night going, "What was that shite that happened?" Please, I don't want my druid ancestors flying around in my room tonight. I would have the running for cover with the relationships with the goats. Tim's talking about. He would have said he would have had to run for cover if once we started talking about the relationships with the goats, man. And they were eating peanut butter too, apparently, Tim.
Yeah,
yes. Oh Lord.
It reminds me and Lucy will sit here and watch TV, and there's an advertisement for the people who moved into their house. They said, you really should get to know your neighbor. You should really know who your neighbors are before you move in. And there's this house. His backyard is full of goats. They're all bang. And then all of a sudden they're in the house. And there's this one cross-eyed, fucked up looking goat. He's in their bedroom going, bah!
Oh, Lord.
It's creepy. If you look at it like you want to talk about things and everything, and everybody in the chat and all that, you look at that goat advertising, you go,
yeah. No. That's just about as bad as the one where you look in the bedroom door and there's a black goat in there and says, "Excuse me, have you been? Do you know about our Lord and Savior Baphomet?" Or you trying to at the pharmacy counter trying to tell them what medications you're taking, and you accidentally summon a demon.
right.
Oh God! And look, and Tim says, and that peanut butter better have some jelly as well. It was jelly as well.
It was chunky peanut butter.
It was oh Lord, chunky peanut butter and jelly. Some crazy shit out there is what he just done said. But what about poor Dorothea? Dorothea too. She was pregnant.
I know. That's what I mean. There was nothing there. And that's why I said it's a bunch of barbarians going on. Really, if you really sit there and think about it, there was no saving grace in anything. There was just if you were pregnant, it's Beelzebub's baby. You gave yourself up to the incubus. It just. And like I said, I know I said this a couple times tonight. At least Salem made a little bit of sense, but Drudenhaus didn't make any sense.
No.
There was just, I mean, you can research it as much as you want. You can bring up mayors, you can bring up captains, you can bring up the Pope, but the one thing that was always missing, there was never tribunals. There was never anything that I've seen that's noted that, especially if anybody deserved the tribunal, was Johannes, and it was the one before. I'm having a brain fart.
You're talking about George Hahn?
Yes, thank you.
George Hahn.
I mean, if anybody, just if you give them their own weight of who they were in the community. I was your mayor. Okay, I at least deserve a trial. No, let's just torture the shit out of you with thumb screws, leg straps, and a strap-o, and we'll see what happens.
Oh Lord,
I would confess to killing Gotti. Just don't take my thumbs away. Don't thumb screw me.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And I am this brain here. When you said straps, immediately went to the other thing, and just thank God where I didn't say it. I would have been like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" There was none of that involved.
Yeah, the strapato. God, I don't. You know,
strapato, not strap.
You know,
like other things that are meant for closed doors.
Oh, you know, there's a company for all that. They're called Snap-on Tools of America.
No. Oh, dear.
Hold on. I'm feeling verklempt. Speak amongst yourselves for 1 minute so we get this back right.
I just text you. But it sounded like you said.
Snap-on Tools of America.
No! Read your text.
Oh, shit. What did you do?
Read your text that I just sent you.
All right.
That I got Tim talking about bananas and wow. He's gonna take a moment. I broke Jim. He has to reboot himself, people.
Oh shit.
That's literally what it sounded like you said. And I'm like, what? Okay. And then you're talking about snap-on tools and all kinds of other things. Okay. This thank God this show is going on YouTube and it is restricted because wow.
Yes.
I have so many violations. Anywho's now that we've got oh God, and Desiree's talking about with tall, cold glasses of milk. Oh Lord.
Paul.
Okay, people. Yeah. So but imagine after all this and poor Dorothea, the husband's like outside wondering what's happened to his wife, and they're like, oh no, we kept her in here for safekeeping. She was in labor. Oh, her and the baby are just fine. The hell they are.
Right, they're in a lot of trouble.
They're ashes like on the ground. Like they're sweeping up the ashes and just tossing them wherever.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, to imagine who saves the day. Can you imagine knocking on the door? Excuse me. Opening up the drawbridge and seeing the Swedish chef roll up. Horn to heater, fruit and heating. No, man. See, you all this here. You got to shut that down. You got to lock that shit up because we're Swedish. We've just invaded your country. You lost, and this all this needs to go away.
Right.
We just yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah. And the number one on the hit list, seen in every post office, if there was one back then, is Von Fuchs, and he dips, man. He dips.
Hey,
he dips.
Yeah. You got to go whoop, whoop. They shook and jived and duck and jumped.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. It's just.
Oh my Lord, Tim just caught on.
With the goats. What the hell? Tim's got goats running around now. I gotta quit giving that guy information for ammunition. Because now he's on goats. Tim? Jelly?
For what? You're a day late to buck short. He talking about jelly and peanut butter and And
He said-
Desiree's talking about cold glasses of milk and bananas, and he's mentioned bananas and peanut butter.
And now we got goats and strap-ons. What the hell
Yeah.
is this show about?
You just said it.
Close your ears,
Thank
Laura.
goodness we
It's
got.
gonna
Now,
get
now you
bad.
got to leave us in trouble. Now
hold on,
look, he's
Buck,
coming on.
we've been invaded.
Uh,
We've been invaded.
Come on, Laura. Let's tear this drawing place apart.
Listen, I don't need no pistol packing natives coming into my bedroom in the middle of the night, popping off with guns and shite coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no pistol packing natives who are depressed. It's the last thing I need.
Look how fast
I
Tim
don't
ran
care.
away.
I don't care if they're spiritual bullets or not. I can't have that happen.
Oh,
So that is in consensus, you know, and it just doesn't say, like, all the research I didn't say, oh, it calmed down. Oh, like the 30 Years' War was ending. There was another war going on. All of a sudden it went from murder,
right.
fires, killing pregnant women with babies and this, and then all of a sudden, here come the Swedish.
Right.
They just show up
Mhm.
one day. Doesn't say how they got there, just says they showed up
Right.
and apparently scared everybody off.
Right. And it wasn't an inquisition. It wasn't a
No.
papal decision. It wasn't a cleansing. It wasn't anything. It was, they had a 30-year war going on that we talked about. That was political and Catholic and religious.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, as the war went on, they moved down, and they encountered Drudenhaus. And then Drudenhaus basically ran out there and go, "We have fucked up. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
I apologize.
That's
Screwed
okay.
up."
YouTube won't take us down for that because
Right.
I age restricted everything. So
Okay, so we screwed up. We shouldn't have been doing what we did. No, they said secrecy. We're going to let you go.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Oh, no. Hey, look, it was pass interference. I'm going to pick up the flag and call no holding and replay the down. Everybody run that way, not that way or that way, and you'll be safe.
yeah,
I mean, the 30-year war, if it wasn't
just don't tell the Catholics.
right, so if it wasn't so bad and nothing was wrong, I would have said, hey, Scheiß Kopf, Odenbein, Zeiss.
Yep. Yeah.
And do what you got to do on the backside. But we were running a prison here of witches. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
You
That's
know, so
terrible.
right. It was all bad.
But to be labeled, my research even labeled it to be the worst confinement or containment center.
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible.
Prior to the only one that tops that, and it's not even in their country, not even in Germany, was the concentration camps in Poland.
Right. Oh yeah. What happened there? It's almost like it can't be exposed because it was so hideous. It was. I mean, the words alone just can't describe it. And then to be the country, not only are the country that had the biggest annihilation of human beings, but now you're also the biggest country of having bogus witch trials. And just for the way I look at it, the sheer, not humor, but just a sheer pleasure, I guess.
Yeah, for the fun of it.
I mean, you think about it. There's a country, if we look at it, that has twice tried to annihilate a group of people
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
The witches, and then it was the Jews.
right. So they can't come out and say, okay, well, we're good for this one, but we're not good. No, no, no. Your history says if we're going to live on history and everybody else has to pay the price for their history
Yes.
and their living, then
Yes.
I won't name names and I won't say names, but you guys know who I'm referring to and who me and Buffy are talking about right now. They are twice responsible.
Yeah. Yahtzees. Let's
Right.
just call it Yahtzee.
I got double sixes.
Yay! No.
No, there's no defending it in any human possible way.
No.
And
No.
that's why I don't think Drudenhaus, and the reason so everybody understands, the reason I keep saying Drudenhaus tonight is because I am trying to alleviate somebody of a little responsibility so they can just have, without being a constant negative on their country.
Right.
So that's why I keep saying Drudenhaus.
Right.
Look back what me and Buff are talking about today. Drudenhaus is the front door to some shit.
Yeah.
We've talked about it. We've explained it. We've both expressed our feelings about it. And
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a country that's in such turmoil that I don't think we should keep feeding it. I think it's just something that got by them for whatever reason. And that's a cheap ass way out of it for them. But I mean, sometimes, man, you gotta step up and bite the bad egg and just say, look, this was us. And I don't want to be the person, and I don't want me and Buffy on the show tonight or Tim on the show tonight to say that, well, yeah, there was a podcast on the 23rd of, and they all said, well, no, we're not about pointing fingers. We're just about trying to identify and rectify and just show a little, like, okay, I know you guys are been bamboozled about this big boulder rolling down the hill, but this little pebble over here tells a different story, and you just need to hear the pebble story.
Correct. And the fact that this was 400 years ago. Germany has since, and since World War II, even if you go to Germany right now, and I'm not trying to get political, if what happened in our country, there were news reporters that went over to Germany as far as someone named EM, the initials EM, did a certain hand gesture thingy. Reporters went over to Germany and asked the general public in Germany, is that okay? They showed them the video. And they said that was a Schmiedhoff-Schmittler hand gesture. And if they do that in public now in 2025, they get arrested.
Right.
Those people, make no mistake, Germany during the World War II was wrong. They were led by someone who brainwashed. Okay. Those people are now gone. Do not make the 20-somethings pay for something that they had no control over.
Right.
Germany is a much better place now than it was. They learned their lessons. It's us that apparently haven't learned our lessons anyway. Desiree has a question. Wasn't the Swedish more accepting of people who had practiced herb healing early Wicca? Yes. So you have to answer Desiree's question really quickly. The Icelandic people or the Norse people, they kept very much to their traditions, even though Christianity had swept through Europe and a lot of those countries.
Right.
I think the Norwegian countries or the Iceland, the Nordic countries. We're not going to say Norwegian because that would enter one country, but the Nordic countries were more progressive. They've always been more progressive. They did not have any part. They were like Switzerland.
Hmm?
They were neutral when it came to allowing the Druids. Wicca is much newer than the Druid practice. When we speak of Druids, we speak of one specific pagan practice. Pagan is an umbrella term, but there were root workers, there were healers, there were herbalists, and they allowed them to continue.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a lot of people that were in those surrounding countries that had witch trials, they were fleeing to the Nordic countries, to Switzerland, to Sweden, to Norway, Iceland, Greenland. The only problem that we had there was the Vikings.
Right.
I mean, but those were people that kind of got along with the Vikings. They were like, listen, we're just herbalists right here. We're like you. We like to do runes and all that other good stuff and hang out and dance naked under the full moon in the woods, with whatever spirits we got. If you let us live up there and just be in peace. And they did.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. You're right, Desiree. You know, the Norwegian or the Norse communities are still to this day one of the most progressive group of countries out there. I mean, even when Greenland was apparently on the auction block at some point, Greenland said, "No, man, you keep that over there, and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing and be happy and cold." There you go. So that is true, Desiree. I mean, we can't keep making people. In no way, shape, or form are we bashing any part of Germany. Germany is a lovely country now. They have admitted, they have atoned for what they've done. Understanding that a lot of those people are no longer alive.
Right.
That regime is no longer alive. And they would never permit it. They've gotten so progressive that they even have a female prime minister.
Okay.
And she was telling the Americans at one point, if it gets bad over there, we'll come over here. We'll feed you. We'll clothe you. Come on over. You want a job? We got one for you. Come on.
Okay.
We'll stamp your little stampy stamps. Come on over. And a lot of the Nordic countries did the same thing. So, we can't but at the same time, we have to talk about it, because talking about it makes sure that we don't do ish like that again.
We don't repeat.
We don't repeat it. Don't harp on it, but acknowledge it. And let it be known that this is what happened.
But that's also a big problem today, is people don't want to acknowledge what happened.
Right.
They want things taken care of current to meet their standards.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They're not willing to confront the past. And unless you're going to confront everything and you're going to talk about everything, how do you resolve? You can't just...
You can't.
You can't go halfway in and go, well, we've gone deep enough. Here's the pool. I walk in the pool and I go to the 4-foot level. And I'm getting everybody on board. We're talking, we're having a good time. But I can't go to the 12-foot. Well, why? Because that's where the really serious shit was. That's where you have to say, okay, let's have an acknowledgement here and a conversation down here about everything. Because you can't have half history and survive.
You can't.
It's what happened. Look, when we talk about witch trials, when we talk about anything else that me, Buffy, and Tim have talked about, and you and Joanne have talked about, you can't go half. If you're going to talk about it, it has to be whole. It can't be half.
Right.
Because half doesn't solve the solution. It's like, the cookies keep getting taken out of the cookie jar at home. Well, my son is doing it, but there's only half cookies going. Where's the other? Oh, my daughter might be doing it. No, take on everything and get it all. You have to acknowledge everything. Otherwise, you're doomed to repeat, and it's going to be bad when you repeat. But that's the other problem today, is people don't understand what repetitive history is.
Yeah, they learn nothing.
It's like, I want to walk outside and do ABC. Well, you can't. Well, why?
Yeah.
Well, history said this. So to correct it, we're doing this.
Right.
So it's a lot of give and take, and I mean, I hope I raised me and Lucy did a good job with the kids, raising them on history and acknowledgement. Like one thing I won't tolerate without my son doing is, you can call me whatever you want, but there's certain stages when you're engaged with a woman that you take care of. Like, you hold her hand. You don't shake her hand first. Wait for her to reach out. You can hold the door for her. When you're walking down the street, you're on the outside of her, closest to the cars coming down the street to protect. So there's a lot of chivalry going on that I try and teach to Dalton.
Yeah.
But people don't want that no more. They don't want that learned history that we've established, and that goes back to the 20s, the 30s, the 20s, the 10s. Where the male, and if call it what you want, I'm not trying to say, but it's like, I need a male in my life just so I can walk down the street and be safe every day. No, we're trying to do chivalry. We're trying to just be. We're trying to just be. Yeah, does it look a little intimidating? Yeah, should I? But like, perfect example. Bailey's husband, James, great guy. He does everything properly. Whether you want to call it chivalry, whether you want to call it whatever, he does it properly. But what most people don't realize, what it entails, is the safety of two people, not one. You're not gloating on one. You're gloating on two.
Yeah.
Everybody's safe.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts when people just. But
you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
Exactly.
When it comes to male chivalry nowadays.
Right. I mean, if I hold the door open for you tomorrow at Target, you'll be like, "No, I can get in there by myself." Oh,
yeah.
Just trying
to even bro, when we went on investigations, none of you got to see the investigations that we did, but bro was there, and half the time I would have to tell him, "I'm good, I'm okay, I'm going over here, I promise. See, we can still see each other. I'm good." And it would be like, but I never said no to him, because I knew that. Here's the thing: you can take the cop out of the force, but you can't take the force out of the cop. It's that protection thing, and being chivalrous and being raised a certain way.
Right.
You've heard me say it before, bro. When we were talking about history years ago, when we were doing the non-video podcast, If you are going to teach history, you need to teach the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent for anybody to learn anything.
Right.
How are children supposed to correct themselves when you cherry pick stuff? Stop cherry picking shit to make it fit your agenda. You can't erase that 6 million Jewish people died because of a maniac.
Right.
You can't erase that. The statues they're taking away from our cities because it's offensive of a Confederate soldier or a Union soldier. You can take those statues down. That doesn't change the fact that it happened.
No.
It happened regardless. And you're not going to learn anything. History is going to continuously repeat itself if you don't change.
And you can take down every statue you want. The thing you cannot take away from that spot is the meaning. And people today don't want to understand the meaning.
They don't. They want to turn a blind eye. And Tim just said something, can't erase what happened to natives as well. That is correct. The only people that have the right to bitch and complain about what's going on are Native American people. They were here first.
Right.
They were centuries, eons of them being here.
Yeah.
You can kill them off, but you can't erase what happened.
No.
That doesn't make what happened right. It doesn't. I just, and I've gone off on this tangent, but I just can't stand cherry picking to fit someone's narrative or fit their agenda.
Right.
It happened, honey. I'm so sorry. It happened.
Mm-hmm.
Don't start shooting yet, honey. Yeah, Laura. Oh God, Laura's out there trying to make a mess in Tim's house again, and I think it's because of what's going on today. You want the honest truth about Laura? I think the reason that Laura is there, and I think the reason that she is upset, is because we have learned absolutely nothing. She is Native, and the same shit that happened to them is happening today. And she's upset because we have done nothing to solve the problem. That history is repeating itself. Everything she gave up in her life being Native was lost for nothing. People don't want to learn.
No.
People don't want to learn.
Because it's
so that.
And I blame the internet on a lot of stuff, because with the internet you can have instant gratification, instant gratification, and that's not how me, you, and Tim and Luce and our chat were raised. You weren't raised for instant satisfaction or instant satisfaction.
No.
You were raised to go out and work and earn it and understand it. And we've gotten past that now. We don't understand. We don't want to understand. I'm saying this, Buff, only as a pure example, nothing negative.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody sits there and goes, I don't like people with blue hair. So
sorry, Charlie. You can look the other way.
you look at them and go, well, why? And they can't give you an answer. They can't tell you. You know,
they can't tell you.
Give me an answer. Just say, well,
just because
a general in this war or that Confederate war or whatever wore blue pants or something like that. I don't care what it is, but it just just
look the other way. Yeah, just look the other way.
Right.
Are they physically harming you? Am I physically harming you by having blue hair?
Does it really matter that I walk past you for 1.2 seconds? No. And
no.
Why can't I turn around and go, that's pretty cool?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or don't say nothing at all.
Exactly.
Why do we have today now where we have to say something.
It's because
and I'm just as guilty. So I was driving today to work, and
people are stupid.
right, and a couple of people cut me off. Oh, hold on. I don't know if I should do this, but I'm going to do
My big old eyeball. Let's do it together. What are we doing? I do go. Me. me.
But like a couple people just got under my gander today. What the hell is that?
Yeah. Oh, look, now he's losing half his shit. Look, we just got him off a clamp. Poor man has just lost his shit today.
What is your problem?
Just walk away. You don't have to say nothing.
Right.
Just walk away.
Whatever happened to good morning? You don't have to like the person that you're talking to. You don't have to like anything about them. Just good morning.
Yeah.
Because humanity is built on all of us. You can't just go down the street and see your buddy and go, yo, bro. And then all of a sudden pass three people on the left and go, it's...
I think that because bad things happen to their ancestors, they should be compensated. I kind of agree with Desiree. Desiree made a statement saying that the problem is either there are people who want to completely erase history and forget that it ever happened, or there are people that think that because bad things happen to their ancestors, that we should be compensating them today.
So this is a dangerous topic.
Yeah, that's a dangerous topic right there.
Very dangerous to stroll down.
Yeah.
But why do we have to pay for problems over 200 years ago?
When we weren't even alive.
We weren't alive. We're not nobody here current.
Yes.
And I'm going with current population. And I will stick my neck up and say that. Current population, however you want to determine it, have not been the victim of. And I say that lightly because I don't want to offend anybody, but you weren't
around in 1863.
Oppressed isn't the right word, but the other thing is people are also selective.
Yeah.
As to what they want to remember and not remember. Oh, God, his name just came to my head. Douglas. Frederick Douglass, I think is the name I'm thinking of.
Frederick Douglass, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was a well-to-do black male.
Yep.
Guess what? He owned. But nobody wants to acknowledge that.
They wanted to acknowledge it. Again.
They don't want to say, oh, my bad on this. Okay, I understand. I'm not looking for, to fix things or just some kind of common ground with everybody. Because, Frederick Douglass owned. But nobody will acknowledge. And if you ask 10 people, 10 people will not know the right answer.
Will not know the right answer. Here's the thing. My point and my stance on everything is, number one, no one should have ever been a slave. That's number one. You can't own a person and mistreat them. You can't own a person, period. I don't care if you own them and you love them. That's you can't do that. People are not property. Nor should you take property from people just
Like-
because you want it. Just because you want it.
Just
That's
like witchcraft.
that's another thing.
You can't do it with, and you're talking about the witchcraft. You can't just go over there and say, my neighbor had 20 apples grow off their tree tonight and I didn't have any. So they're witchcraft. Or they had a
Right.
familiar run around.
Right.
This is how it comes full circle. It's not just the witchcraft. It's not just Salem,
No.
not Drudenhaus. It's not just whatever you want to encompass this ball to be. If you look at the totality of everything, it's the same common thread.
Yes.
Everybody's looking for what benefits them
Correct.
instead of what benefits everybody. Now,
Correct.
like Dalton, I'll use him as an example. So
Mhm.
he'll see somebody in a military hat,
Mm-hmm.
USS Navy,
Right.
you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He will literally roll down the window in a car and yell out there, "Thank you for your service."
Thank you for your service.
He doesn't care who the person was or what
Yeah.
the person is.
Yeah.
He saw somebody very proud of their heritage or life experience, advertising, and he's just trying to acknowledge and say, "Thank you."
Correct.
And that's human. Why can't
That's
we?
human.
Why can't
Actually,
we?
you should be treating people the way you want to be treated. My precipice is I go on vibes. I do not see color. I do not see religion. I do not see ethnic background. If I vibe with you and you vibe with me,
Mhm.
great. Are there people that I don't get along with? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I say nothing. I just don't associate with people. I can't stand bigots. I can't stand racists. I can't stand crucifying somebody because of their national background, their religion, where they came from. You can't do that.
Right.
We all put our leg pants on one leg at a time. We all bleed the same color. We all have the same amount of bones in our body.
Mhm.
We are human. Why don't you consider them human beings? Everybody. That includes all nationalities, races, creeds, colors, sexual preferences, backgrounds. Why can't you you want to crucify people for just breathing? Stop it. That's my point.
Yeah.
I tried to do the same thing. They sacrificed more for my freedom and deserve so much more than what we are doing for them right now. For the vets, that is correct. I totally understand, Desiree. Anywho's, we've gotten way off the beaten path.
We did. We got deep on the dark side.
Yes, we got on the dark side thing, but
it all rolls back, Buff. If everybody
don't be an
listens to
asshole.
it rolls back to the first witch trials.
Yes,
All we're saying, we're not saying, a blanket on everything currently or anything. What we're talking about is what led us from there to here, and it's a
Right.
consistent factor. It's just a prejudice, and like I said,
prejudice.
I just
Yeah.
can't wrap my head around Drudenhaus. I'm not even giving it the name of Germany because they've had a hard enough time and everything. I'm just saying, and the reason I don't give it anything is because the 30-year war was coming down, and the little chicken shits. Look, we're gonna don't tell anybody what I did to you. Don't tell anybody I thumb screwed you or anything, and just let that 30-year war just go right on by. And you know what? Bygones are bygones, and I love you so much.
Oh Lord. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I totally agree with you there. Bottom line, don't be assholes. It doesn't take anything not to be an asshole.
And my current position did nothing to cause you harm or injury. So why can't I just say hi to you? Why can't I just say hello?
Yeah.
But Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of history sitting in the back that have caused problems to elevate like this.
Right.
And we're not going to get into it, but you could pick each nationality. You could pick every landmass, anything,
Every
any,
religion. Every
any,
religion.
and say, well, this one did this. And
Just stop. Stop pointing fingers. Move on.
let's see.
Move on.
Because I've met some great people.
Yeah.
We all have met great people that have impacted our lives. And so just let it happen.
Yeah. I mean, move on. Our purpose here tonight was to educate you on something that happened in history. Are a lot of our talks about witchy stuff? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Because that's why we're called Corner Cauldron, and that's why we're called Two Witches or Witches Winging It.
Right.
Our purpose was to bring it to the light and say, this happened. Not that anybody needs to pay for it. Not now that we've said something, they're going to say, "Oh, well, I saw something on a podcast, and now I hate this specific country because they need to make atonements because they haven't made atonements to the people that they killed like in the 1600s." Get over it. We are just giving you the history. Move on from it so that it doesn't happen again.
And that's what we want. Yeah.
That's all we want, to impart a little knowledge and to show you that evil things happen.
Right.
And then it's not just in one part of the country. Everybody, as soon as I talk about witches, immediately, oh, see how witch trials? No. There are witch trials that happened, 200-300 years.
They're across the pond, they're in Hamburg, they're all over.
Prior to what you've read. And get your facts straight. It wasn't 9. It wasn't 19. It was 25.
Right.
25. And one of them happened to be a damn dog.
Right.
They strung up a dog because there wasn't nobody left. Because the dog went mad one night and killed a sow. It was doing its doggy things.
Yeah.
And they had a trial for it. They had a trial for the damn dog. Can you imagine? And they were questioning the defendant. What did they get out of it? Woof. That's it.
Your Honor, he said 3 calls left. I'm innocent.
Yes. So do you have a goblet of knowledge or no?
I do, and I've been trying to get this out there for the last couple of weeks.
Sorry.
So this is not a goblet with the topic, but this is a goblet with masters of horror. So we're talking H.P. Lovecraft, we're talking Edgar Allan Poe, and one from Stephen King. So these are quotes from these guys that I thought were.
By the way, look at the queen. Look at the queen.
You rest well, kitty. Everything's okay.
Meow meow. Look at her. Look. Bro, and she's looking right at that screen. She said, you meow at me one more time. Watch what happens. I'll come right through the screen.
Meow meow. Don't provoke me. I'll meow meow all night meow.
Oh God, don't provoke me. You don't need any provoking. Oh Lord.
I'm going to start off with 3 quotes from H.P. Lovecraft. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear. And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown. The world is indeed comic, but the joke is on mankind.
I get down with that one.
From HP. Fear is the. Oh, that's a repeat, so I got to cancel that one. So now we're going to go to Edgar Allan Poe. The boundaries.
Oh, my favorite guy.
The boundaries which divide life from death are at best shadowy and vague. Mm-hmm. Who shall say where the one ends and where the other begins? Another Edgar Allan. I like this one. I like this one a lot.
Okay.
The scariest monsters are the ones that lurk within our souls.
Yeah, man.
If everybody listening didn't quiver a little bit on that one,
Yeah, man.
God bless you.
That's gold right there. That's gold right there.
And one more Edgar Allan Poe. All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have talked about this a couple times. And I've always thought we are submersed in a tube and living on a screen. And that's kind of where that takes me. And then the last one I have from Stephen King.
Oh boy.
Monsters are real. Ghosts are real too. They live inside us, and sometimes they win.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I mean, I've had this ready for a couple weeks. I've read it a couple times, and I'm still getting fucking goosebumps from when I read them because these are the three guys that really kind of brought horror to us.
Yes.
And if you look at us, like when I say us, is B, Buffy, and Tim. We're all about the paranormal. We're all about like this, the other thing, and those comments from those guys.
Yeah.
When I found those comments, I was like, man, that's some goosebumpy shit right there.
And Edgar Allan Poe is my heart. I am an obsessive Edgar Allan Poe fan.
Yeah.
And I've read about his life. I've, read about, I am even a fan of Shelley, and Keats and Yeats. They were his three best friends that he hung around with all the time.
Right.
And they were all poets.
Yeah.
They were all short literary phenomena. And they all did drugs. They all did drugs.
If you look at Edgar Allan Poe,
yeah,
I mean, the man was he was a debacle.
He was a drunk.
I mean, short of anything that you can think of, and to come up with that one quote that the scariest monsters are the ones that lurk within our souls. Mm-hmm. Think about it. I mean, the man nailed the shit's dead spear on top of the head.
He was talking about himself, most likely about his drug addiction and his alcoholism, right? Because they said that he was a demon to reckon with when he was drunk and when he was high. That he was uncontrollable, and that he was, in fact, a monster.
Yeah.
When things like that happened. When he got overindulged and stuff. I mean, he would drink laudanum on the daily, and he would mix it with port and drink it all day long, and be high as shit. And smoke opium.
Oh yeah,
opium was a drug of choice back then, and so was laudanum. And he went nuts after he lost his wife.
Right.
All right, we got to kind of get going here. We went way over tonight.
Oh no!
It was so good having you on the show again. I appreciate you. A big virtual huggies. Hugs.
Yeah.
And I will get with you. I got something we got to chat about, but I'll get with you.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yep. All right. So, any other further questions? No.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
Here
he starts with these again. All right, everybody. We've gone way over. So we're going to close out the show. And as I always say, love, peace, and chicken grease, y'all. Bye.
See you, sis. Love you, girl.
Love you.